Hello guys, here's Ukrainezilla and I have a little Halloween special for you. So yeah, it's not too special, it's based on an old short story I wrote for my old channel's community tab. But yeah, see this as the voice reveal on this new channel, although many of you probably came here from the old one, so they might already know my voice. And yeah, my English sounds kind of weird, and my accent sounds even stronger in any kind of recording, but whatever, I guess. I don't have a proper mic. I probably should get one, but I'm recording this on my iPad right now. Yeah, so anyways, have fun, I guess. And I think I have only 4 or 5 pages left for the next episode of Angels of Doom, so this might come out soon as well. Anyways, enjoy and happy Halloween. At this point, I've heard so many rumors about these events that I'm concerned. Strange things started to happen in this neighborhood recently, and now some people even went missing. The whole town got ready for this year's Halloween, also me. I was lonely most of my life, and days like this, where I could make the children happy, offered me some distraction. But now, since our town seemed haunted by something or someone, these times felt a bit unsettling, to say at least. Still, I wasn't the guy who believed in all the supernatural stuff some people kept talking about. People I knew started to talk about some kind of portal that appeared on a hill outside the town, and they started going crazy about it. Still, despite all of this, I wouldn't believe it. My neighbor constantly tried to convince me. I often replied, "Come on, do you want to scare me? It's not funny at all." Last time, he said the whole town had gone crazy and asked me why I didn't realize that. Since then, we haven't talked to each other. And how wrong I was. It's the 31st of October, Halloween. It is a dark, cloudy night. Neither the moon nor the stars are visible. In the afternoon, I put the last decorations outside. I noticed my neighbor wasn't at home, and actually, everything suddenly seemed so empty and silent. A bit confused, I went inside. Where were the children, who always have played here in the yard? At this point, I didn't think much about it. Guess I'm such a fool. Nothing was normal. I went into the living room, waiting for the first few children to show up at my house. When I turned on the TV, I was shocked. And then I felt like a part of me still held onto the thought of it being just a hoax, while another part of me was just terrified, I guess. I don't know. I can't really remember what I felt. The news. They talked about this portal, the strange triangle portal, and a creature. A large creature coming out of it. In this moment, I heard a strange noise from outside. A deep growl, mixed with something sounding like creaking metal. I thought it was some kind of animal, but it sounded so strange. I walked back to the window and looked outside. Everything was dark. Pitch black darkness. I wondered, was there a power outage? Suddenly, the pictures on the screen of my TV started flickering and glitching before it went black completely. I tried to turn the light on, but it wasn't working. I looked out of the window. Silence. There, 2 red eyes stared at me for like a second. Red, glowing eyes. Now I actually was terrified. I kept staring out of the window. My eyes slowly got used to the darkness. Again, silence. Terrifying silence. The silence was torn apart by a loud, deep roar, fading into laughter, followed by a scream. I started shaking and feeling dizzy. I grabbed my gun and opened the door. When I entered the backyard, I looked around me. Silence. This goddamn silence. I turned around and looked upwards. And there, on the rooftop of my neighbor's house, it sat. A pitch-black shadow with glowing red eyes. The creature sat there, with its extremely long tail touching the ground. This wasn't a normal animal. This was a monster. I couldn't believe it. It had a long head with a crown of spikes growing from its neck. It had long, muscular limbs, hands with 4 fingers ending in sharp, curved claws, and an extra pair of smaller arms underneath its chest. A row of these red, glowing eyes ran down all the way from its face to the tip of its tail, one on each side of its body. Its teeth were hooked and messy. Its snout was rather narrow, and it didn't stop smiling. It smiled. It wore something like a coat waving in the wind behind it, and its movements were incredibly elegant. It slowly turned its head into my direction, and I noticed what it was holding in his mouth. It killed my neighbor, who told me about this portal thing. His limp body hung from the creature's jaws. I stood there. I wasn't able to move or speak. I just stared at the monstrosity sitting on the roof. Aside from the red glowing dust, or whatever it was, surrounding the creature, it was completely dark. It shook its head and dropped the body. It hit the ground right before my feet, and I noticed that this thing has ripped the head off. A pool of blood spread around my feet, and I finally was able to take a step backwards. I looked back at this thing. I needed to keep an eye on it. It just killed my neighbor, and I hadn't taken him seriously. Why? Because now I think this thing isn't from this world. Now it was too late. I saw the creature standing up elegantly before it jumped into the air. It landed right next to me, almost crushing me underneath it. I could feel the vibrations through the ground. This thing just didn't stop smiling, and I started to run. I turned around, raised my weapon without even knowing where I was aiming at. I felt so dizzy and exhausted, I barely could stand up. It felt like space itself was warped around me. This thing's presence completely messed up my perception of size. I wasn't able to tell its size while it stood in front of me, but I think it stands at around 10 feet tall and is 3 times as long. I started shooting at it. It was completely pointless. The bullets went through its body, and as far as I was able to see it, they hit the building behind it. Like there was no resistance, like it wasn't even there. The creature remained completely undamaged. It started laughing at me. It was disgusting. It walked towards me, blood dripping from its teeth and claws. It moved slowly, knowing I couldn't escape. Suddenly, it started sprinting into my direction. While I prepared myself for what I knew would be my fate, it jumped right over me and simply disappeared. I was completely confused, while my vision turned clear again. My head hurt, and all I heard was a high-pitched ringing noise. I looked around me. The power still was out. What the hell was this thing? Before I could even calm down a bit, I heard another scream, glass breaking, and suddenly there was an explosion. Out of nowhere, this monster reappeared. It slammed the body of a severely injured child into the ground. I had no idea what was happening. I heard this thing's evil laugh once again. It stared right at me and started to speak. Its voice was surprisingly calm.
Listen, you are confused by our presence, aren't you? We can taste your fear.
It spoke about itself as we. What does we mean?
See, pathetic creature, you don't even have the slightest idea of our power. Many simply call us the Great Destroyer.
I started to run. I didn't have a choice. It chased me back into my house. And now I stand here, facing a wall, while I hear it entering through the door. It slowly walks in. It chuckles, and it says,
You can't hide. We always see you.
I see a shadow on the wall I was facing. I turn around, and this thing comes around the corner.
You're such a fool. You really thought you could protect someone here, let alone yourself? How nice.
I don't say anything. It moves its head from side to side.
What a nice little house you have. Wouldn't it be fun to burn it to the ground?
It opens its right hand, and flames start rising from it. It laughs at me. It literally throws them into my direction. They don't hit me, but they block my way. The fire spreads unnaturally fast. I'm defenseless. I'm doomed. The demon is watching from outside again.
You messed with the wrong opponent. Now die of it. By the way, happy